Okay, at this time, I'll call the special call meeting of the West Memphis Utility Commission to order. And it's the Thursday, the 6th of May. And we have a quorum, we have 4 present. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Todd.
Okay. First, I want to thank you for taking your time to come out today and take care of this issue. Also, I want to introduce again Jason Carter. Jason Carter is General Counsel for AMPA. He also is, we use him as our advisor for legal associated with dealing with energy type of issues, and this being an energy type issue. What I want to do is go through and give you a little explanation of what y'all have done so far in the past and then what I'm asking for today. Okay? In May of 2020, y'all approved a power supply agreement with NextEra Energy Marketing. Okay? And that was a subsidiary of NextEra Energy Resources. Okay? When you approved that, you approved 5 years of energy and 3 years of capacity. Okay? Now, and I will try to explain capacity and energy in terms where it makes a little bit of sense. Okay? In the past, we had always done an all-in contract where it was we start our contract on this day and the contract ends, and the person is responsible for providing 100% of the capacity and 100% of the energy. Okay? What is capacity? I'm going to use it in terms a little bit different in the automotive industry. Okay? To me, MISO, who is the RTO that we're part of, they require me to have capacity. It's like you have to have a car. Okay? And it has to be this size. Okay? They don't require me to have gas for the car. They require me to have that car. It's steel. It's sitting there. Okay? The energy side is, to me, like the gas. Now, me, I have a pickup truck. Energy is required to have like multiple 18-wheelers. We've got to be able to cover our capacity. And the energy, like I said, is the gas. And you can buy that. You can layer it in, or you can say, hey, I want you to give me, if prices are good, you can say, I want you to give me 5 years worth of energy for my project. Why did we only do 3 years of capacity at that time? Because the one thing that is the risk that people worry about the most is the capacity market. Okay? That's a yearly market. Why is it kind of scary out there? It's because as long as there's capacity out there and there's availability, prices are low. But whatever happens if all of a sudden the capacity is not there in the market, it's the curve and the prices go extremely high. Okay? So they were pricing risk into that original contract, okay, saying we're not sure about years 4 and 5 yet. So I said, hold it, I feel comfortable that I think that capacity prices are still going to be low out there. We're going to wait a little bit, okay? And we're only going to do a 3-year capacity deal and a 5-year energy. So that's what we signed May of last year. It starts actually June 1st of this year. That contract starts, okay? Then last month, y'all approved a 20-year, not a 20-year, a 30-year deal, okay, for 20 megawatts from Big Cypress Solar, okay? Big Cypress Solar is a subsidiary of NextEra Energy Resources. So, NextEra Energy Marketing and Big Cypress Solar are both subsidiaries. Okay, so those two are sister companies. That 20 megawatts, it's a 30-year deal that starts in 2026. Okay, so that's going to take care of that. They will get the capacity the energy and the renewable energy credits out of that resource starting 2026, going all the way to 2056, okay? All right, now, what I am asking for is part of that project. We bought 20 megawatts. Somebody else, okay, is another municipal is looking at buying 40 megawatts, okay? And then there's another person that is looking at buying 120 megawatts of that same Big Cypress solar project. But they don't want the capacity out of it. They only want the energy and the renewable energy credits. And you go, well, heck, why are they buying that much? It's probably somebody that doesn't have to meet the requirements of MISO, which would tell me they are a customer of somebody else already, okay? So, what we're doing is, I knew about this going on, and because of my prior relationships with NextEra, they are offering us the 120 megawatts out of that Big Cypress solar, okay? That will start 2024 and go to 2039, okay? So, and it's for 120 megawatts, and you're like, holy cow, that's a lot. Go ahead.
120 megawatts of capacity.
Of capacity, okay? Capacity. But I'm going to get the capacity credits from the 120 megawatts, okay? Now, this is where it gets a little confusing. You're going, hold it. So I'm going to get 120 megawatts of capacity credits? No, you're not. You're going to get what they qualify for. Solar, because the sun only shines half the day, or sometimes less than half the day, right now, you only get about 50% credits for the amount you buy. So, we're buying 120 megawatts worth, okay? But we'll probably get, based on the current models, about 60 megawatts of credits, okay? We are required to have our load plus 12%. Right now, that's about 95 megawatts of credits we have to supply to have the whole car, okay? So, what I'm asking is that we buy this out, because let me explain, and it's something that keeps me up at night, because I know where the market is on capacity and what I see. Yes, we have a lot of capacity, available capacity in MISO South. But as y'all know, we own, right, portions of White Bluff and Independence. Those two, White Bluff is going offline in 2028. That's 1,600 megawatts of capacity that's going to go away. 2030, 1,600 more megawatts of capacity is going away by Independence. Okay? That's 3,200. By the way, part of that same settlement, Lake Catherine is shutting. Lake Catherine is 700 megawatts of simple cycle gas that's going away. Actually, it's a super heated gas. Supercritical, thank you. Same thing as what Helena was. That's right. At 700, 4,000 megawatts of capacity is going to be off the system by 2030. Okay? What I've done is, I haven't, if y'all approve this and send it over to City Council and they approve it, we will have the whole car and all the gasoline for the next 5 years. Okay? That's for years 2021 through 2026. Okay? I'll have everything I need. But then, after that, okay, I will have the 20 megawatts PPA, all right, and I will have the portion of I'll have the capacity and energy from that, okay, but I will also have the 120 megawatts for the next 13 years, okay? till 2039, from 2026 till 2039. So I'll have, if the methodology of the way MISO calculates their capacity credits, okay, for solar facilities stays the same, I will have basically 2/3 of my car. Okay, I'll have 2/3 of the steel, okay? Now, for 26, 27, and 28, I already have it because we still have White Bluff open. It closes in 28, and I still have Independence, okay? So, but I won't have the energy portion. I won't have the gasoline. That's the key. And that's where, looking at the energy side, you still have to kind of say, okay, the energy, I can still go out there and say, okay, you can buy energy on the day ahead, you can buy energy real time. I don't think the city is into taking those risks. What we'll end up doing is we'll go out for a energy only potential contract and say, well, on this day, I only need this much gasoline. Okay, so hey, let's buy that. And I need that much year round all the time. We know that. So let's buy that much. And then you just layer in your other pieces. Okay? So, is that clear as mud? I tried to bring it into some way, explain it that something y'all relate to, because I know this organization in this city has always done everything where, all right, here's an all requirements contract, buy everything and just take care of it. I've separated that from there, and I'm buying the capacity piece because I can see that as a high risk item, okay, that needs to be addressed. And how often are 180 megawatt solar facilities built in your own backyard? One of the things that, as a city, that I think, you know, we should be very proud of them if this gets approved, is that, and I'm going to make sure, Jason warned me, make sure you use your words very wisely when you say this. 2024, in 3 years, okay, when we are getting the capacity out of this facility, okay, the city of West Memphis, 85 of its capacity resource needs will be served from locally generated renewable energy products. Did I say that very good? Thank you. Okay. And that's I think that's the major thing. And here's the key. We won't have to adjust rates. We're making a transition to the new world. We've got to start looking at our world past coal. We know that. This is starting that transition. Go ahead.
Our current contract is 2 years short on capacity.
That is correct.
So we're covering part of that.
That's correct.
I don't understand it. And I swear this is what the Crooked E Enron was selling. They were selling all these credits and all that stuff when they went out. But I understand it's a new world.
I mean, literally, selling of electricity is like the stock market every day. It's being sold every hour, every minute. You are selling it, you're in there, you're selling it every day. The capacity portion in MISO is done. You got to satisfy that need one time in the year. You do it once for the whole year. So they separate those two things. That's the big thing. But it's still a market for it. They have a market where, hey, if you're short on capacity, people will bid it in and say, buy some of it. The issue is right now, because there is so much steel out there, it's very low priced. But I can tell you there are, and that's within Arkansas, okay? We're in the Arkansas capacity region. I can tell you there are other portions of MISO where they've hit that cliff and it's ugly. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, and let me explain it this way, because it's kind of like what Todd's saying, the energy markets run every day, both in the day ahead and the real-time markets, and they're very efficient as far as pricing goes when you're buying and selling energy. Capacity is treated differently. So within MISO, they have capacity rules to make sure that society overall has enough generation to meet the needs. All right, so separate from the energy, we got to make sure there's enough capacity out there. And the way they make sure there's enough capacity out there is that they look to every load-serving entity, including you, and say, you've got to have enough capacity contracted to meet the needs of your community, plus a little bit extra for reliability. And then that's the way we make sure there's enough generation out there, right? So you've got to be contracted for that. And so what we call, like in Arkansas, is called Zone 8 in MISO. And what they call these megawatt requirements are ZRCs, zonal resource credits, right? So we got to have ZRCs for where we have, and I think you said we got to have 95. So all you know is you got to have 95. That's what you got to know. You got to have 95. Well, if you're short, then you have to go to the auction. That's the deal. You go to the auction and you pay whatever the auction clears at if you're short. If you got enough, then you don't go to the auction. If you have too much, you can sell into the auction. Maybe you make a little money off that, right? But the way that the auctions have gone, and they've talked about maybe going to a seasonal construct, but right now it's one day and it all goes down and it shakes out however it shakes out. And we've seen markets go for a penny. We've seen markets go for $5. And there's really no way to predict how it's going to go. You just don't know. You just walk into the market and the market kicks out a number and then that's where you're at. So, and when you say the difference between a penny and $5, you take that number, whatever that price point is, you multiply it times 12,000, that converts it from kilowatt months into megawatt years, right? So you multiply times 12,000 times the number of ZRCs you need, which would be 95, right? So it turns into a really big number in a hurry. And just nobody knows how it's going to shake out. And especially over the long term, when we're talking about turning off coal plants and turning off gas plants and all these plants retiring, well then that constrains the market, right, in the auction. And the way the market is constructed, I'm going to take you back to your old Economics 101 class of supply and demand, but the market is constructed with what's called a vertical demand curve, which means this is how much society needs. And then supply is either going to meet that or it's going to fall short. And if it falls short, that's when we all say the market blew out, right? So it's cheap, it's cheap, it's cheap, it's cheap, it's cheap, and then all of a sudden, boom, and your nose is bleeding and your eyes are watering, and you're like, oh no, we have to go sit down with city council and tell them that this event just happened and it just cost millions of dollars and we didn't plan for it and it's not in the budget. And that has happened around the country, and that's why, because it's so unpredictable, it's hard to go into these kind of 5-year, if you start going, well, we'll go 5 years on capacity, well then that's going to start affecting your price, because they're like, I don't know how much that capacity is going to be worth in 5 years. So it starts affecting your price. If you start trying to go longer terms, it affects it even more. But you've got kind of a unique opportunity here where you can say, I tell you what, we'll tie our price into that solar facility right over there. So we'll pay for capacity coming from that solar facility, and we'll see what we get out of it, and then we'll reap the benefits for it.
I mean, again, getting this deal, I've actually talked to other people who sell capacity, and I can tell you the price in 2028 when some of these facilities start is ugly. So
if you can find somebody to sell it to.
That's if you can get somebody to even sell it to you. Most people want to hold it. They're sitting there, nope, mine. And so this is getting us to, we got a very unique opportunity because of what is happening in our backyard. And we're taking advantage of it.
Am I right to say capacity is sort of like an option to buy the energy later on? You're covering your needs with the capacity that you can buy the energy.
I wouldn't equate it to an option because it doesn't give you the right to buy the energy flow. It's just saying, when MISO says, how do we know we've got enough capacity to meet the needs of society? And they say, West Memphis, how can you show that you've got the capacity to meet your share of the needs of society? And you go, here it is, right here. I got these contracts. Boom. I've got the ZRCs.
Well,
It's just,
let's go back to a recent event. I imagine Texas had the capacity, but they didn't have the energy.
that's exactly right.
That's true.
So they had to go out and buy it at astronomical prices. So that capacity didn't make a darn thing.
That's-
Or did it give them the right to buy it in the market, no matter
The
what?
capacity showed that they supposedly
Had enough,
had enough to cover their
that they were
requirements.
fair.
But when it
equal
all
play.
failed and it more failed than they could, they didn't have enough. Okay, you have to do both. I can't,
It's about,
I can buy the car, but if I don't go buy gas, the car doesn't go anywhere.
right,
So you gotta have both.
I semi-understand.
And trust me, I deal with this every day, and I was talking to the gentleman, and the key, this is an amendment to our power supply agreement. This is, okay, this is not part of the power purchase agreement, okay? That's a whole separate deal. This is an amendment to the power purchase agreement. Because of those two, because Big Cypress Solar and NextEra Energy Marketing are basically sister companies, I'm working through NextEra Marketing, getting access to Big Cypress Solar's product that they didn't sell to this other customer.
Okay, this is actually an amendment to our May 2020 agreement
Yes.
and our April 2021.
It
No,
didn't touch your.
Does not touch that 2021 agreement at all. Now, if the project does not come online, I don't have a April 2021 and I don't have an amendment. Both of those will go away because the project has to become online and actually running before both of these take effect.
April 2021 has its capacity and energy built into it.
That, yeah, totally separate.
Gotcha.
Big Cypress finalized their location.
Not yet. I think if you go to a public meeting on May 11th at the county courthouse, you'll know exactly where it'll be.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. They're having to do something with the corn court.
I might be there.
I was gonna say, you might be there. I just thought about that after I said that. Sorry about that. Y'all have a meeting May 11th?
Yes, we do.
See, look at there.
Carnac. Anybody got any questions that could possibly help you to understand all this?
I know it's weird disaggregating elements of a power contract. There are some cities who do this routinely, where they buy energy separately from buying capacity, separately from buying any renewable energy credits or ancillary services. They've got it all spread out in different directions. You're just taking one step and doing that.
That's correct.
The only thing that you're disaggregating is energy and capacity. And I think you're doing that. The reason why Todd sees the advantage of doing that is because energy markets appear to be pretty stable, long-term, low price. If you mix in the volatility of capacity, it'll affect your energy price too much. So separate those two out and then find a good deal for capacity. Contract that side of it, and it'll keep you more long-term stable.
Explain credits. You talk
Okay.
capacity, energy, and then you talk
Okay.
credits.
Well, when you say capacity, when I think of capacity, how big is the facility? The facility is a 120 megawatt facility. But when you go into the MISO, and he used the term, they equate it and say, okay, how many zonal resource credits? In other words, zonal, we're in zone 8.
I got that one.
Okay, we're in zone 8. Resource credits are you going to get for this 120 megawatt facility? Okay? And that's where the rules come in, and we're only going to get probably about 50% because of it being a solar.
Because, okay.
That's right.
Because it
Yeah.
only
It's,
works out.
and I consider it,
Okay.
you can call it capacity credits, they call it zonal because it's only good for this region, you know, because it's within the zone
Okay.
resource. That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Under the MISO business practice rules, whenever you put solar in, it immediately gets a 50% credit. That's what they credit it at. So 120 megawatts of generation is worth 60 megawatts of ZRCs. And that's because it's not dispatchable, right? You can't call it and go turn on, because we can't call the sun and turn on the
Or the
sun.
coal plant could have been 100.
They typically,
But then-
50 because the sun shines
Yeah.
up.
Right.
Over time, they do the math to more approximate the value of the capacity, because they say, when is the MISO system peaking? That's between, in 3 hours in June, July, August, and September, right, is when they check that. And which is gonna be typically,
Sunny,
I
hot.
guess, 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 5.
yes.
So usually solar's really producing during those hours, but we call that the peak, when the system peak occurs. So solar usually ends up with a capacity credit of somewhere around 65 to 70%. So you end up actually better than 60 megawatts. You may end up north of 80.
And
you
here,
know, so.
and the deal is not a cost per credit, okay? It's a flat fee, whatever, if something happens and I'm getting 70, okay, I get 70 megawatts worth of capacity credits. It reduces now, does it have a bottom? Yes, it has the 20 megawatts. If it ever gets down to they change all the rules and you're only getting 20 megawatts worth of credits, zonal resource credits, they have to fill the back end, okay? So it will not, I have a bottom number, I have a bandwidth there. I can get whatever it clears at, but the minimum I'm gonna get is 20, okay? But I'm gonna say this, if they have, that would mean a 120 megawatt facility, that would mean they would only be getting about 20% capacity credits out of that. I don't think that's gonna happen, just because the way the world is going to solar. I think there's enough people out there that would go screaming, man, you're only giving me 20% on my capital investment. There will be some very big people out there screaming. And when I mean big, West Memphis is this. Remember, there's other IOUs out there buying and investing in solar heavily, and if they start to reduce that, it's going to hurt their bottom line.
Well, and the technology of the solar panels, they're going to increase efficiency
Right.
to where through the years, 30 years or whatever, that facility out there is going to produce more power during the
It's not
life
a solar
hours.
panel. then.
For the whole time.
At the beginning.
Yeah, it's the same solar panels put in
It's not
today will
gonna-
be there,
You're not gonna
unless they
get-
have something happen to
But
them.
if the
Right.
technology increases enough to where they can double the capacity,
Right.
refitting it, they'll refit it.
Yeah, they would. Because we were talking about this during one of our discussions, they actually have some places where they actually put panels on top, and then they come back and put panels on the bottom, because you get the refractive off, if it's near, like, I guess in a desert, you get a lot of light shining off the ground, and you get that also. So you already have everything built, and then you just put some panels up underneath. So I guess what I'm asking is y'all to approve, ask the council to approve the ordinance and sign the amendment to the power supply agreement. I think I said that right.
Do I have a motion to, on the amendment to power supply agreement dated as May 6, 2021?
So moved, but there's misspelled word.
Uh-oh, maybe on me.
Okay, we have a motion.
It's one B, it should be by.
We have a second by Mr. Holmes. Any further discussion, and we pass it with the correction of the misspelled word or words?
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
talking now.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Couldn't have done it without you, each and every one of you.
David, I